I'm Tracy Mooney, and I turn fabric into Swiss cheese.
I'm Teri Lucas, and I have a thing for color.
I'm Lori Baker, and I love to make pieced backs.
I'm Michelle Freedman, and I like to dye fabric.
And welcome to Quilters Rule the World. This is our podcast where a group of friends get together and talk all things quilting.
Are you guys excited about this?
Yes, I am.
Well, we've been doing it for a few months now, where we get together every once in a while over Zoom and we just have fun. And we decided it might be fun to actually record one of our conversations so everyone out there can giggle along with us.
Right, and I would encourage everybody to grab your own tiara.
Which was a fluke happening when we had one of these calls and someone mentioned something about tiaras, and about 3 out of 4 of us just reached next to us and grabbed a tiara.
Yeah, I would be the one that didn't have one, so I still don't have one, but I have a crown. So it's like a stepping stone to a tiara, I think, or maybe it's beyond tiara. Why can't I say that? No, I was amazed that I said something about we should wear tiaras, and all of you had one, like within reaching distance. Like, oh, I have a rotary cutter and like my earbuds and this crazy giant brush, but I don't have a tiara, and not even one like on my shelf. It was amazing. I really wish that moment had been recorded. It was phenomenal.
That was a good moment. That was totally a good moment. So Tracy, why are you making fabric into Swiss cheese tonight?
I'm making two pink felts. It's called Paws Out, and it's based on a bear paw, except that it uses her besties line, and so you're fussy cutting adorable animals like dogs, hamsters, goldfish, all kinds of animals. So therefore I am cutting out, fussy cutting little cute dogs tonight.
Amazing.
Aww.
How many blocks are there? How many do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That looked like a lot when you held the picture up.
There are 60 individual paws.
Amazing.
And they are, you don't do them in 4 like you normally would with the paws facing out. They're all directional depending upon which way the quilt is facing.
Oh.
Wait, hold it up a little higher. There you go. Well, now we can't see you, but we can see.
That's okay. As long as you can hear me, that's fine.
Oh, that's so cool how it's built in sections like that.
Yeah.
That is cool. That is cool. It's really cool.
And so what are you working on, Lori? You got anything exciting you're working on this week?
Well, I do actually. Our Christmas party for my quilt guild is coming up this week, and we're supposed to be doing fidget quilts. We always choose a project to donate to for Christmas presents. And we're doing fidget quilts. And I still had the step outs from when I wrote an article for Quilters newsletter. I had enough step outs to do 3 fidget quilts.
Oh, how fabulous.
I'm almost done.
Nice.
Tell me what the like core elements of a fidget quilt is. Like, what are the things that are in it and kind of the techniques? Because I can imagine it, but I've never made one or seen a pattern for one.
So we want texture, and we want interesting things that will catch their eye. These are for people with Alzheimer's or dementia. And as they get agitated, they need something to do with their hands. So I have keys, I have Velcro, I have a little tiny stuffed animal attached. I have a ball in a pocket that's then sewn shut so they can feel the ball and move it around, but it won't get lost and somebody step on it and hurt themselves. I have an empty spool of thread that I've just put a piece of some kind of seam tape through and attach that. I'm putting Cuddle on the back of mine just because that's such a nice, comfy feeling thing. And Teri, I'll get you a picture of a couple of mine too.
Please do.
I use everything from linen, corduroy, velvet. So they've got different textures of fabric, but I do want everything to be washable because these are going to places that are assisted living, nursing home kinds of things where they're going to get washed and they don't have time to mess with a delicate cycle.
That's actually kind of really wonderful. So for anybody who is watching this, Michelle dropped out for a minute. She'll be back. So you're making 3. Are they all different? Are they all the same?
They're all the same color family because remember I said they were step outs.
Right.
So I was making 3 things that you could believe was step 1, step 2, and so forth. So they're all purple and green. Surprise, surprise, I used purple. Can you imagine?
No.
Shocked.
Lori, what's your favorite color?
Let's see. I think I remember it's purple.
Oh. I knew we were kindreds.
Yes, yes. So yes, I've got 3. There are probably 60 ladies in our guild. And you know, it's not required that you bring a project for the fidget quilt donation thing, but I'm betting we'll have a good 40 or 50.
Oh,
Wow.
I liked your guild.
Aren't they cool?
Yeah, they definitely are.
We're having an atmospheric river here, whatever that means. But
Oh, you're getting dumped on.
really stormy. It's
They were actually talking about you on the Today Show this morning, or yesterday morning, about the river.
it's anyway, it's wild. Like driving is something.
I bet.
So Tracy, during our break, you were saying what size ruler is it that you know that you need and you just don't have right now?
A 5.5-inch ruler.
Now,
Square.
5.5 inches. I've got a 5.5-inch rectangle, and I've got a 5-inch. What did I just do with my 5-inch? I've got a 5-inch ruler, but not a 5.5-inch ruler. And I need to fussy cut 5.5-inch squares on point.
So who makes one of those?
RNK, Quilter Select.
Yes.
Theirs is a 5-inch that I've got. Here it is. It's right here.
Right.
And it's 5 inches. And then I think I'm going to look at the instructions. Maybe they have suggestions.
But Lori made a good suggestion, which was
Cut out a cardboard template like our grandmas used to do from their cereal boxes.
I used to do cereal boxes too when I first started quilting.
Yeah.
Michelle, did you do cereal boxes when you started quilting?
I'm trying to think. I definitely used it for garment sewing, but I started quilting. I didn't even understand like what a quilting ruler was because my background was from a whole different craft.
Right.
So like metal rulers when I started.
Oh yeah.
I've definitely used. I'm trying to think like, what about like does like the Orange Pop, the Kimberbell rulers, do they have one that like has a window that you could cut through the inside? Like
all of a sudden I'm looking over on my shelf like, oh, do I have that box here?
Oh, do you have template plastic?
I might have some of those.
There you go.
Template plastic would be nice too because you could see it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've done, let's see, I think I have a ruler here that has a mark is, like I'll tape it where I want it.
Yeah.
That's a little more work, but
Yeah, that's kind of what I did here, but it's not as ideal as I would like it.
speaking of cereal boxes, this is a calendar page that I cut out. I don't know if Tracy recognizes what this is.
I do actually.
Yeah, this is from a calendar from 2019 or something. I actually like to keep those and use them for different things. So
Yeah, the paper's nice and thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like those for doodling.
Yeah.
I can practice quilting.
That's a great idea. Actually, I have a bunch of calendars that I tear up, and now I'm gonna use Teri's. Tear it up for Teri. I don't know. Work on that.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a hot topic question.
Ooh.
Hot topic. We need a jingle.
Hot topic. You just did it. I'm actually gonna take that clip and go hot topic alert. Like, here we go.
Topic.
So, Debbie Brown is at some point going to join us, right?
Mhm.
She's part of our cohort here, and I can make her eye twitch.
Do you say moist?
Oh,
Ew, no. Was that a good response?
cut me off.
Sorry. We should have a trigger warning.
No. Here's how I make her eye twitch.
Okay.
I do something. Oh, I'm not going to do it with that piece because it's far too pretty. I sometimes clip my fabric and rip.
Oh,
yeah.
I do that sometimes.
Okay,
Backing.
so now it's Lori. Do you ever do that?
Yes, because that's a good way to get it exactly on grain.
Yes.
Wide
Yeah.
back always.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you get elbows, right? You get those
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
looks like this.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm singing and dancing. Like the camera's on. I'm like, woohoo! You
That's
get
a
this.
little dance.
Mhm.
Oh, and here I thought I was going to have a controversial conversation, and oh no, we're all fabric rippers.
We're all fabric rippers, yeah.
Someone
Debbie-
said,
But Debbie's
I mean-
eye would twitch. I've watched it.
oh, maybe we should have her do it live just to front her fear.
You know, Lori did that for me once.
What did she do?
She made me open up a jelly roll.
That's right.
Lori.
I
I
hate
did.
opening up jelly rolls because you can never, if you aren't using it right then, you can never get it back.
Fact. It's fact.
No, it's like opening a bag of glazed potato chips because you can never eat just one.
No. And you can never get that roll back so nice and neat. And
Unless-
I literally have I'm sure my eye was twitching because I was like making faces as I undid it.
Lori, you
that-
are a good woman.
The outcome, like, how did you feel afterwards? Was it like,
Yeah.
okay, never doing it again, or like,
I feel much better now. I don't really have as much of a problem opening up a jelly roll anymore. So
right?
it did alleviate, it pulled the Band-Aid off, so to speak. It alleviated the agita that was
Is it a
occurring.
secret?
Make me sing
Mhm.
that. Ajita, all together.
I don't know the song.
I
You
don't either.
Remember, I'm culturally.
Totally putting. You got to drop that in the show notes. It's the best songs ever.
All right.
I don't own a jelly roll.
What?
But
There's my hot topic.
True
Now I
confessions.
know what I'm sending you for Christmas.
Thread?
Oh, as if, are you short on thread, Teri?
Yeah.
She says wistfully.
Thank you for
I
narrating.
don't
Like,
believe
that
you.
was the best narration ever.
I don't believe that you're short on thread.
No, the only short thing in the room is me.
I was going to say, I am not short on thread, and I am certain that you have more thread than I do.
You know, I like cones.
Do not make me get my inhaler too. Oh, so good.
No, seriously. Okay, so I think it was in our Gen Q days, right? I actually did the math. How much per yard does it cost on the spools that you can get at the big box stores? Like they're 250 yards. And then I actually did the math up to the cone size. And if there is something that you frequently use, get the cone. Like, or even if something is just pretty and you like the color, get the cone. It is value for money, my friends. When you do the price per yard on there, oh, wow. It's not just about saving money, it's about having thread forever. I mean, well, and it's pretty and you can pet it. Like, it's pretty.
Hold the cones. Just hold everybody cones.
That needs a sound. Hold the
I'm
cone.
Yeah, I definitely have a song that goes with that, but I'm not singing again. I'm just going to say Lady Gaga. You'll all hear it. Maybe Teri.
Maybe
Same.
Teri won't.
Yeah, no, I'm culturally irrelevant, so.
So
I'll
while
make-
you're talking about the cones of thread, do you want to talk about why you don't want to buy those spools in the big box store?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I do
Ooh,
want
we're going there. Are we going there?
See,
Okay.
I think we need to.
Okay. Okay.
holding
I
the
can tell you about things that I've bought because they were cheap and
Mhm.
and then they don't last. And I put way too much time and effort and energy into my projects to want something to fall apart the 10th time I wash it. It just makes me crazy.
But do you know why it falls apart? Do you know what it is, what's happening in the thread that is okay? So
Actually, I don't.
It's a twist, right? Isn't this the plot twist right here?
What?
Plot twist. Oh.
and I thought I was the only one who played with words. I have invested.
That was a good one. I even caught that one.
So there's a couple of things. One, they're not using that extra, the really good quality thread is extra long staple cotton.
Right.
So when after it's been completely processed, the fibers are much longer. And I'm doing this just to make a showy point. Then with the bargain brand thread and the it's much shorter. The fibers are much shorter. So if the fibers are much shorter, they're not traveling as long. And so what that does is it creates thick and thin spots as it's twisting. So if you take that thread and sometimes just by rubbing your hand down that inexpensive thread, it's going to feel rough and it's slubby. So there's two things that are happening with that. One, when it goes through the needle, it's going to start where the slub goes through, depending on the size of your needle, it's going to start pulling the thread down to the core. So you're going to get, so what is already thin in one spot is actually going to continue to get thinner, which means you've just compromised your work. Okay. And if your eye is big enough and it goes through, and here's where sometimes when we're pressing our seams, if we're doing an accurate 1/4 of an inch with it with a decent thread, we'll get a 1/4 of an inch seams. Our blocks will turn out the right size. When we're using thread that's inconsistent, it's going to change how the seam presses, and it might not be, you may have sewn an accurate 1/4 of an inch seam, but it may now no longer be an accurate 1/4 of an inch seam. And I am going to say something super controversial. Well, it used to be controversial. Now I think it's normal.
Do it. Do it.
What?
I was just peer pressuring you to say it.
Okay. Partly from Debby, right? I think all of us are still all willing to learn new things about quilting or whatever we're excited about. I started using 60 weight thread in my top, on the top, and in my bobbin, because it is finer than that 50 weight thread that some of us grew up on in the quilting world or made the change to in the quilting world. And part of that is it's just finer than that. And because it's because it's finer, it sinks into the fabric. And so you're going from something that looks like this, where the thread twists together and makes that stitch, to something that looks like this. So it's not taking up as much room. So when you press your seams, whether you're pressing them open or pressing them to the side, you're actually still getting that accurate 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And so your blocks now, as long as your cutting is good, your blocks now are going to turn out the size that you want them. And then people get a lot of quilters go, well, what about the heat? Well, hello, I'm the weird quilter, hence Chief Creative Weirdo. But I'm the weird quilter who learned how to use my iron, and it has more than one setting, off and all the way on. So I generally press like somewhere around the low cotton, high linen setting. So I'm not pressing with a super hot iron. It takes a little longer, but the end result is I've got it, on the odd chance that I am actually piecing, my blocks turn out the way that I want them.
Well, Reg,
Can I?
oh,
Go ahead, Michelle.
sorry, I keep talking over people. I'm so awkward on Zoom. Let's just embrace it. Michelle's awkward on Zoom.
We're
Go
fine.
ahead.
Go.
Oh, I said thanks for the threducation.
Oh,
Oh. You were just full
Another
of
good
puns
little
tonight,
wordy thing.
right? So can I tell a little story about thread that
yes.
was my awakening on thread? So when I moved to Illinois, I had been living in LA and I had been working in a quilt store. And I moved to the Midwest, and it took me 3 tries going to different quilt stores before I found a store where the people who worked there talked to me. It was very weird. It was like a little bit of culture shock. But so the 3rd time I walk into the store, and they had, as soon as you walked in the door, there was like a glass display case. And on top of it was a rack of thread. And I'm not going to name the brand of the thread, but the thread was, and this was probably 2007, maybe. And the thread was $10 for a spool. And I was looking at it like, huh. And when all of a sudden, person who worked there said, hello, can I tell you anything about the thread? And I was like, oh, they spoke to me. Yes, please tell me all about the thread. And so I was like, I've never seen this thread before. And so she takes a spool, and I'm just going to hold up a random spool. This is nothing to do with anything. This is just the only spool that was right next to me. And she goes like this with the thread, and she says, it's Egyptian long staple cotton. Do you know what that means? And I said, no, I don't. And she said what Teri just said about the threads being longer. And she said, now, if you look at it, do you notice that there isn't a lot of fuzz off of the thread? And I said, I don't know. And so then next to her, she pulls like a regular spool of big box thread that was like, you know, a $2 spool from wherever. And she pulls it off, and there were little fibers all down the thread. And I had never noticed it before, but I had cleaned lint off of my needle and off of the foot pedal and off of like everywhere in my machine. And that coupled with the fact that she pointed out the yardage on the small spool and the yardage on the big spool, and they were the same price.
Wow.
When you thought about yardage.
Yeah.
What I found really fascinating is that sometimes even in the good brands, like I have brands that I love to use with cotton thread sometimes, and I found this weirdly with silk too. It's a fiber, so it makes sense. With certain brands of thread, my machine will throw lint that way, that, you know, where it gets caught in all the different places. And then on somebody else's machine, the same brand of machine, same model, that kind of thing, probably manufactured within a short period of time of one another, their machine will not throw lint with that same brand. And so they're like, so if somebody tells you that their machine doesn't like such and such a brand, it is probably their machine that is not behaving well with that brand of thread. And so you kind of go, oh, okay, you know, just this, and I've watched it in action. Good, and two really good brands of thread that should not be throwing lint, either one of them. On one machine it will, and one machine it won't. So there's
something in the mechanism where it's just slightly a hair
Exactly.
off.
Yeah.
I have a thread awakening story to share.
Oh, I like that.
Share.
That was Tracy, by the way. I wrote that down because it was really good, and I thought, oh, thread. So it's really good. I had a favorite thread that I used to use all the time I went to college in New York, and I went to design school for sewing, and there was a little shop on 40th Street in the garment district that had just this, like, every color thread you could possibly imagine, and they were expensive. And the store, after I graduated school, went out of business, and I thought, oh, I'm just gonna buy as much thread as I can. I'll have it forever. And at that time I was doing a lot of costume design, so having threads in all different colors was helpful when I was working in that business. So I bought it. It came in a long box, like, you know, maybe 10 units per box, and I bought thread for the rest of my life. With, you know, I made, I think, probably $8 an hour at the time. So I really spent everything I had on this thread, and feeling really good about my purchase. Smart me. So jump ahead years later, I'm living in Oregon. Weather here is moist. That word again. And I'm sewing something with this. So it was 100% cotton, beautiful thread. I hate that word. And
Humid is a good alternative.
Cool.
I tossed that one out there and just like, yeah.
So I'm sewing this project, and all of a sudden my machine is not working. My thread's breaking all the time in my mind. What's wrong with my machine? Why isn't it working? Like, just breaking. Change the needle, clean the machine, oil the machine, all the things. I cannot get my machine to work. Okay, well, maybe it is a tension thing. Maybe I need to take it in. So I take it in. I need a demo here too. It was not this brand of thread that I'm going to hold up. But I take it in to the service center, and the person takes one look at the thread, and he goes, this is probably going to take an effort because this is really excellent thread. He takes the thread and he goes, what's this? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, your thread is rotten. I'm like, this is great thread. Are you kidding me? Like, I own a container of it in my garage. This is excellent thread. I bought it in New York. And he's like, when? I'm like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And he's like, it's rotten, honey. Like, you need new thread. So what I learned, my thread away, there's two parts to this. Don't buy all the thread, but use your thread. The reason that, well, Teri buys cones because she will use it all, but one of the reasons why there are smaller spools of thread is so that we use them. We finish the threads. And this is a little different way of thinking about it. But from my experience, stockpiling that thread for as many years as I did in cardboard boxes in a basement that, you know, retained some water to humidity, that levels that were probably high. Is that the best way to get around saying that word? I don't know.
Don't just say moist. Just do it.
But the moisture destroyed the thread in my case. And there was nothing, Tracy, there was nothing at all wrong with my sewing machine. I just had the thread's life had come to an end. Let's have a moment. Thread's life. Yeah. So that was my thread awakening. I really, after that, had a different way of looking at getting a smaller spool for that project that I knew I'd do all of it and not worrying so much. Because I used to get mad, like, why are the spools so small? You know, but no, it kind of makes sense. It gives you a better sewing for sure.
Humidity and extreme heat both will affect, and light will all affect the thread. So if you can keep it in a cool, dark, dry place, it's going to last longer. Also, about the time you were where you were buying all that thread, in that time period, some of the manufacturing had changed. So if that had been on their shelves for a while, it may have been under a different manufacturing process. I have spools of extra long staple cotton thread that I'll take, and I've had them for like 15 years. I'll take them out now and they're still fine. Some of it I am surprised at because most of my stuff spent months in a storage locker in Texas during 100-degree summer. But that said, the thread is still working for me. So,
and that is a good test is doing what he did, which is, you know, just pulling it and seeing, does it break?
Yeah. And I'm totally envisioning now, like, you know, how some musicians have like humidifier rooms for their guitars. Like, can we have a thread room like that, please?
yes.
Like,
That's a good idea.
Humidifier, it could be a small room, like maybe a closet, but
It's like the opposite of a humidor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dryador.
You could invent that. And then you'd be rich and famous.
Yeah, right?
She's got the famous part down.
I'm gonna write it down so that
There
I
you
remember.
go.